All right, we're back in the shop today working on the project Gladiator, and as you can see here, we've got some goodies from Artec. So this is their diesel JT skid system. It's 6061 aluminum with some steel structures to support it. And then we've got these brackets right here. These are going to be for our builder sway bar that we're doing for the Curry anti-rock. So these come ready to go for the Gladiator, and they will mount right up here in this area. Maybe this is backwards. That one might be for the other side, but you get the gist. But we're gonna do a quick install video of the skid system. And what we're gonna be replacing is all of these steel pieces up in here. So you can see we've got steel structures below the catalytic converter and the diff stuff. And then we've got this skid plate here, which one thing we did notice, we put this lift kit on and didn't have our front drive shaft in, but we've got contact here on our front drive shaft at that cross member. So it's a good thing that we've got this thing up on the lift just so we could see that. So anyway, we're gonna get started on this, and Artec has a great installation video, so this is not gonna be an install video, but just a quick little time lapse of us getting this put on today. All right, the skid system is all finished up. There's only one hole that you have to drill, and that's this one, and that's the very last step. We did have to enlarge these holes back here in this bracket for those retainers. There was no way they were going in, so we drilled those out to 15/64, I think, which is the size just below a 1/4 inch. But everything fits really well. One thing we did have to do that it didn't mention is for all of these to line up correctly across here, as well as on the front of the cross member here. We had to loosen these 18s, and then when it was all finished up, tighten those back. And you can see they moved a little bit from the impression here where they used to be. So you can see right there the outline of those. So that little bit of movement there allowed everything to line up good. So this thing is done and finished, and we are going to move on to our next project. So take a look at this Artec aluminum skid. Today we're going to install the SteerSmarts sector shaft brace and track bar reinforcement bracket. So this is a very nice American-made piece. Has good looking hardware that's coated, and also has this nice bearing. So it's not a bushing, it's actually a bearing that's going to support right here on that Pitman nut. So we've dropped the track bar off of the vehicle. That goes right up in there. And then we've removed the nut for the Pitman arm. And that is this guy right here. And the size for that is a 1 11/16. So had to go find that little guy. But we've got our puller up in here, and now we're going to pull the Pitman arm off. So we've got the Pitman arm off of the Project Gladiator. And we have the original Pitman arm stacked up with another stock one. Those should be the same. But this one right here is the one off the truck. That is damaged from hitting a curb on the side of the road. So, I'm sorry, this is the stock one. This is the one off the Gladiator, shop Gladiator, that hit the curb. So you can see how far out that is bent. So while we're here, we're going to put another stock Pitman arm on it and cross our fingers that it doesn't do the same thing. So probably going to be about time for a PSC big bore box. This is a box off of another stock vehicle. The one we have is the cast steel box on the shop Gladiator. So anyway, we're going to get this Pitman arm swapped in and get the SteerSmarts track bar bracket reinforcement and steering gearbox sector shaft reinforcement installed. All right, so now we've got the new longer track bar bolt in place, and then we have torqued the 4 side bolts in. And then on the inside, we've got the Pitman arm, the new nut with the bearing race, and then washers above that. So you may have to use 1 or 2. In our case, we had to use 2, and we'll show you why next. All right, now that we have the bearing in place, we have the front bolt and the rear bolt started, and they're torqued, and then the snap ring gets put in this groove here. So before, we did not have enough clearance. The nut was not sticking down through the bearing far enough, so we had to stack that second washer up here, and you can see those right in this gap, and that allowed the Pitman arm nut groove to be down here so the snap ring would fit in place. All right, the sector shaft and track bar brace is complete. We've got the sway bar links back on, and everything looks good. And just to note, they recommend you put the bolt in from the rear. Since it's longer, if it was going out the back, it's possible it could hit a truss or anything else that you might have here on the axle. So we just went ahead and did that in preparation for doing that at a later time.